The most terrifying monsters in a true crime story don't live in the woods. They live next door. They water their lawn. They wave hello. And then, one ordinary Tuesday, they reach over the white picket fence and steal everything you are. This is not a ghost story. It is a horror story of the real world. This is the case of Elara Vance, a story about how quickly a peaceful life can dissolve into a cold, unsolved mystery, and the neighbor who watched it all happen from a darkened window. Silver Creek, Oregon. It was the kind of idyllic, sun-dappled suburb where nothing bad was supposed to happen. Every house was a pastel dream, every lawn manicured to perfection. Elara Vance was Silver Creek's beating heart. A 28-year-old librarian, she was the quiet, constant presence that made the town feel safe. But sometimes, in these perfect places, the silence isn't peace, it's merely the absence of a scream. Elara lived in a small, renovated craftsman house on Willow Lane. Her greatest drama was a stack of overdue books. Her routine was a clockwork marvel. A morning run, work by 9, a walk with her golden retriever, Buster at 7 p.m. sharp. That routine was her anchor and her fatal flaw. Because on the night of September 14th, the anchor was suddenly irrevocably cut. Elara vanished without a trace. Her car was in the driveway. Her purse and phone were on the kitchen counter. Buster, her dog, was found whining anxiously at the back door, unfed. The police investigation began not with a frantic 911 call, but with a complaint from a neighbor about a barking dog. The initial search was clinical. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle. It was as if Elara had simply stepped out for a moment, intending to be right back. But the only physical evidence found was a single, disturbing anomaly, a small, intricately carved wooden bird, tucked almost neatly beneath the kitchen sink. It was foreign to the house, chillingly out of place. For the police, the case was instantly complex. A pristine crime scene is often the most terrifying, suggesting a killer who is not frantic but methodical. It suggested a person she knew, a person she allowed into her safe space. Detective Marcus Thorne, the lead investigator, immediately focused on the immediate environment. The one factor that tied the victim to the location, the neighbors. And chief among them was Mr. Silas Croft. Silas lived directly across the street, a man of perpetual unsettling silence, partially hidden by an overgrown hedge and an unnerving collection of lawn gnomes. He was the silent observer of Willow Lane. Silas Croft, a middle-aged man who worked the night shift at a local storage facility, seemed innocuous. Lonely maybe, but harmless. He was the first to comfort the police, offering a strange, overly detailed timeline of Elara's last known day, a timeline that was too perfect. He claimed he saw nothing, heard nothing, but one detail from his meticulously clean statement snagged on Detective Thorne's mind. Silas mentioned Elara's red reading glasses being on her desk, a detail the police hadn't released. How did he know that? The question was rhetorical. He was her neighbor. Yet in this chilling mystery, every mundane detail felt like a crack in the facade. Elara's disappearance was quickly classified as an abduction, and the only lead they had was a quiet man who watched a lot more than he let on. Detective Thorne couldn't shake the feeling that Silas Croft's silence was a performance, a calculated display of innocence. Thorne secured a warrant to search Silas's house, based solely on the neighbor's detailed knowledge of the unreleased crime scene and the disturbing presence of the wooden bird. What they found inside was not a collection of damning evidence, but something far more chilling, an immaculate museum-like obsession. The back room of Silas's basement was sealed off with a heavy deadbolt. Inside, the walls were covered not with photos of Elara, but with detailed hand-drawn blueprints of every single house on Willow Lane, meticulously labeled with the residents' routines, vulnerabilities, and schedules. Elara's house was circled in faded red pen. The police also found a sealed box labeled Memories. Inside were not personal photos, but small, innocuous items taken from the victims, not just Elara, but pieces of 2 other women who had vanished from neighboring towns in the last 3 years. A chipped ceramic cup belonging to the first victim, a single faded hair clip from the second, and from Elara a pair of small bright red reading glasses, the very ones Silas had mentioned to the police. This was not a random killer. This was a collector, a serial predator who didn't want the spectacle of murder. He wanted the small, intimate tokens of the lives he extinguished, turning his basement into a shrine of quiet dread. The wooden birds, the signature object, were the key. Silas was a gifted woodcarver. He didn't leave a calling card. He left a trophy. Detective Thorne realized the horror. The bird wasn't placed by the killer to taunt, but was dropped by accident during the abduction. It was a mistake in an otherwise flawless operation. The carving itself was a perfect likeness of a small, helpless songbird. To Silas, these birds were symbolic, representations of the women he captured and silenced, small, beautiful things caged and forgotten in the vast silence of the suburbs. Confronted with the evidence of his memories box and the blueprints, Silas's composure finally cracked, his perfect timeline shattered. He had no alibi for the time Elara went missing, admitting he was watching TV in his sealed basement. Thorne pressed him hard on the reading glasses. Why did he know about them? Silas, sweating profusely, finally admitted to watching Elara through his window for months, documenting her every move, calling it research for his crime novel. A thin excuse that failed to account for the trophies. Thorne leaned in, his voice a cold whisper. Where is she, Silas? Where is Elara Vance? After hours of relentless questioning, the dam broke. Silas didn't scream or deny the accusations. He simply leaned forward, his eyes fixed on a point far beyond the room, and whispered one single devastating word. That word confirmed their worst fears and led them to a secret beneath the manicured perfection of Silver Creek. The single word Silas whispered was vault, not a burial site, but a meticulously constructed holding place. The police rushed to the idyllic backyard, the very lawn Silas had proudly tended. They located a subtle seam in the pristine concrete pad under a bed of vibrant red petunias. This wasn't a rushed burial. It was an architectural secret. As they began to excavate, the true depth of Silas's planning, his cold, calculating evil, began to surface. After hours of intense digging, they broke through reinforced steel, a custom-built concrete chamber. What they found inside transcended the crime itself and entered the realm of pure, psychological horror. Elara Vance was there, but she was not alone. The small space was a cramped, soundproof cage, designed to sustain life indefinitely, yet deny any hope of escape or rescue. She was weak, terrified, but miraculously alive, trapped alongside the chilling artifacts of the other two missing women. Silas hadn't just murdered people. He had collected them, treating living, breathing women as his secret, helpless trophies. Elara Vance was rescued, but the trauma was permanent. The investigation revealed Silas Croft. The quiet neighbor was motivated not by passion, but by a disturbing need for absolute, controlled intimacy. He saw his victims not as people, but as secrets he owned. He wanted to possess their existence, unseen and unheard, proving that his small, meticulously planned world could swallow anyone whole. The suburbs, once safe, were now tainted forever by the realization that true evil lives right next door. Silas Croft confessed to everything, showing no remorse, only frustration that his collection was disrupted. His conviction brought justice but not comfort. The chilling takeaway from Silver Creek is that the greatest horror lies not in the unknown darkness, but in the calculated actions of the person you waved to this morning. Be careful who you trust, because some secrets are buried right beneath your feet.